Hi, welcome to Math 331, Lecture 17. And so what I want to do today is I want to continue the stuff on game theory. And so I know some people are going to be coming in a little bit late, so I thought we would start with the game that everybody knows. So what's probably the simplest game that everybody knows how to play? It's a boring game. Tic-Tac-Toe, excellent. You could have said the card game War. There is, depending on how you play, some skill in War, if you know the card game. If you're allowed to pick up your cards, you could actually choose a little bit how you pick them up after winning some cards as to where do you want to play something. So there could actually be a little bit of skill in War, depending on whether or not you are allowed some control. So it's been a while since I've competed professionally at the elementary school, but I do have a very good record of undefeated. So no one has ever been able to beat me. Does anybody here think that they can beat me in tic-tac-toe? Okay, how many opening moves are there? 9. So there's 9 opening moves. How many responses? 8. So just between that, there's already 72 positions for the game board after the opening move. What can we do to cut down on the analysis? Symmetry. We can use symmetry. So by symmetry, how many openings? Not divide by 4. There's 3 openings. So what are the 3 possible openings?
Middle, corner, and bottom middle.
Okay, and what should the opening move be? What letter?
Middle.
Yeah, what letter should we use?
Oh,
X, right? O never gets to go first. It's always X that gets to go first, right? So these are the 3 possibilities by symmetry. Now let's look at responses. I don't seem to be able to see the. Here it is. Okay. Oh, okay. So somehow the pen moved all the way up to the top. Okay. So if I go in the corner, how many responses are there to that? I mean, not in the corner, in the middle. If I go in the middle, how many responses up to symmetry? 2. I could go into one of the corners, or I can go into the middles. So there's only 2 responses here. If I go in the corner, how many responses are there by symmetry? So start telling me what the possibilities are that are symmetric. Right next to it, that's 1. What's next? Middle is 2. Diagonals is 3.
The ones next to the 2.
4.
And then the last one.
And 5. And similarly over here, you would get 1, maybe 2, 3, 4, and 5. So last time I checked, 2 plus 5 plus 5 is 12, which is much less than 72. It's less by a factor of 6. So when we're trying to analyze things, this is actually a very easy game to analyze. There's not that many possibilities. When you're playing tic-tac-toe, what is your job as the second person? So yeah, basically it's to stop the first person winner. You're really not going into tic-tac-toe thinking you've got a chance of winning. You just don't want to play stupidly enough. And so we can try to analyze tic-tac-toe. So there are 3 possible opening moves we need to think about. Now, one of the things that's really nice about tic-tac-toe is when we're analyzing this, as soon as you get 3 in a row, the game is over. So a lot of times moves are going to be forced. We've just started talking about tic-tac-toe. I'm assuming you're familiar with the basics of the game. And you were basically just saying up to symmetry, there are only 12 possible states after the first 2 moves. There's 3 possible first moves by symmetry: middle, corner, or center. Okay, so imagine we start off and O goes in the middle and we respond in the O goes in the center, we respond in one of the middles. Any thoughts on where the first person could go next? Yes.
I think you can go in the one right above PO. The next one above PO.
Okay, so do you say above or below?
Above.
Above. You wouldn't want to go below, right? Why not?
That might also work.
It's symmetric, right?
Oh, it's okay.
Right. It makes no difference if you go above or below. It's just more personal preference.
Sure.
So what was your preference?
I guess.
Up. Okay. So X goes here. What's nice about going here in terms of the analysis is it's really easy. Right? There's only one move of O that we have to consider. O has to go in the bottom left corner or the game is already over. And now for the first player, where should the first player go?
Top. Or the second column.
So this is a good spot. So this would be a possible 4. Because that threatens 3 in a row in 2 different ways. And there's no way O can stop. Is there another good place for X to go?
Okay.
Top left. And so if you go here, you're threatening for getting 3 in a row 2 different ways. And so we see very easily that this was a mistake. Okay, so if someone goes in the center, we know it's wrong to go there. I don't want to go through all the different cases to analyze. I have to fill up some of today's lecture, so I'll just take a little bit more and I'll do one more. Where else could O go? Yeah, in the corner. I mean, there's really no other choice. So now we don't have that many possibilities left for X. This is nice. This is really symmetric. There's 1, 2, 3. There's 4 possibilities for X. So the game tree is really nice. Where would you like to look next? Are there any moves that look really bad for X? Bottom left corner. That might be the worst possible move for X. Why is that bad? Good. So it's not directly helping me get 2 in a row. Now, sometimes it's actually worthwhile to take a small hit locally to be in a better position globally. And so we can't say that this is a bad thing to do. Instinctively, it doesn't look like it's a good choice. Now, one of the things that is nice about this is if you look, there's a lot of places that X has already eliminated O from possibly getting, right? Is there any possibility O has for a win at this point? Yeah, O could go along the top. Any other possibility?
Right.
And on the right. So O has 2 possibilities left, but there's no way for O to be attacking both of them simultaneously. At the very least, if player 1 is not a complete moron, player 1 can easily force a draw from this position. Because your pigeonhole principle, O needs to get 2 more in each one of them. So in some sense, this is not necessarily a bad move. It's going to guarantee player 1 doesn't lose. And I think we can show fairly easily O is not going to win. Maybe X has a way to win. So my question is, if X does this, can O force a draw? So again, you want to go in positions that you're going to force player 1 to respond in a certain way. It cuts down on the tree. My son and I have been watching a lot of chess videos, watching some of the really good programs play, and just the number of possibilities you have to look at. The only way you can do this is to basically eliminate a tremendous number of the possibilities of this is going to be really stupid. I'm not going to worry about what will happen if my opponent has the queen move and immediately take one of my pawns that's protected, followed by a rook taking a pawn that's protected, followed by another rook taking a pawn that's, I'm not going to go down that tree. Is there a good choice for O where we know what X is going to do. Top left. So if we go in the top left, that helps us getting 3 in a row. And now we know X is going to have to come up over here. Something, wait a minute, I'm off. Oh, sorry. That should have been 5, 4. And then this would be, okay. And then where does O go? Bottom. And so those moves are forced. And so when we look at this, does X have any chance of winning?
Yes.
Yes. But it only has one chance, the second row. And so no matter where it goes, player 2 can block. So we can see very easily in this configuration that we're going to get to a tie. Okay, I'm not going to go through the rest of the analysis of tic-tac-toe. This is not too bad. How many of you have ever written a tic-tac-toe computer program? Excellent. How did you do it?
In 136, we were doing like exploring branches.
Okay.
To determine where the advantage.
Okay.
So it was recursive.
Okay.
And then like we cut off branches when it led to an outcome.
Did you ever write a chess program? It's not hard to write a chess program to play. And my son and I have watched a truly terrible chess bot, Martin. And there was one video where Martin is so bad that they give Martin 30 queens or 31 queens and Martin still loses. And you know, Martin is making legal moves, but it's not making the moves that even a beginner in chess would know how to make. It's very easy to write a program that is legal, putting in some strategy. Tic-tac-toe is a wonderful opportunity to write a program with various levels of play. So step one, if you want to do this, this is a nice assignment. Write a completely stupid computer tic-tac-toe program. So what it does is at every moment in time, it just looks to see what spaces are available for a legal move, and it randomly chooses one of them. That's the simplest possibility. What would be the next simplest? So choose randomly among legal. What would be the next simplest? Yes. Well, just if I'm a computer program and it's my turn to move, I look at all the squares that are available. Say there's 6 squares available. I randomly roll a die 1 and choose 1 through 6. If there are 3 squares available, I randomly choose 1 through 3. That's a little bit higher. Okay, so one is to block an imminent win, but I think there's something even better than blocking.
Secure win.
Secure win. Else do 0, right? See if I have a win. If I have it, take it. If not, then I will go back to the previous program and just choose randomly. Okay. What could I do instead of securing a win rather than going randomly? Block, right? Secure win, else block, else 0. Okay. And then a more advanced one might be try to find a way to get, if you're not in a condition where someone's going to block or whatnot, can you put something in a way where you're threatening 3 in a row 2 different ways? So secure win, block, threaten 3 in a row 2 ways, 0. So again, this is a really nice way to write a computer program where you can have different levels of opponent. And so if you want to try some coding, I think this is a nice, fun thing to code. Okay, do we all agree that tic-tac-toe is boring? So do you know ways to make tic-tac-toe fun? So one thing is you can change the dimension. So change size. So if we play on a larger board, how many in a row do you need? And so if you need too many, if you need n on an n board, do you think you're going to be able to get n on an n board? And so if if you have a 1,000 by 1,000, it's probably going to be really tough for you to get 1,000. So you probably need, so where do things become interesting? If you watch baseball, the distance from home plate to first base, first place to second base, it's just enough for things to be exciting, to have lots of close plays. You don't want it to be trivial to get the person out at first, or trivial for the person to make it to first. You want it timed just right so it's interesting. And so the question is, how many in a row do you need? If you need 3 in a row on a large board, do you think this is going to be hard?
No.
Okay, do you want to try to beat me right now? Well, it's not hard, but Professor Miller, you're just so good at this. So where would you like to go? You're playing first. And no tuition, stipends, or anything like that is on the line.
In the center.
Yeah, of course, you want to go in the center, right? And now I'm in real trouble. I really have two choices, right? I can go a diagonal, or I can go, I'll go over here. And you're trying to get 3 in a row.
Now just go diagonal.
Yeah. And if it's 3 in a row, I'm dead. What if it's 4 in a row? So if you go there, by symmetry, doesn't really matter where I go. You could go diagonally to the left, and then my move would be 4. So if you want to get 3 X's like that, thoughts? Let's say you're trying to get 4 in a row now.
Put one between the 2 X's.
So if you put one between the 2 X's, so now, oh, sorry, this should have been 05, 04. And so now, if you go over here, you're threatening 3 in a row many different ways. I mean, 4 in a row many different ways. If I just looked at this quickly, my best bet might be over there. I'm blocking you, and I'm giving myself 2 different ways where I now have 2 in a row. But the problem is, if I do that, where do you go? I'm sorry? Yeah, up or down. You can either go into here or here, and I'm dead. So going where I did for 06 is bad. But if I go over here, where could you go? So you could go over here or over here. So for something like this, if I'm playing 4 in a row on a very large board, it's terrible to go second. You should be able to force a win. So it then becomes an interesting question. How many in a row do you need for the game to be interesting? Or you can give O some help. You could pre-place some O's. O's on the board. So imagine, we have a huge, huge board. And maybe there's a couple of O's, like near the edges. And so that helps out O, but only if the game lasts a long time. And so it all comes down to, this is not just a problem-solving class, although that's how it's billed. In order to solve a problem, what must exist? The problem, right? So there have to be people who create problems. Sadly, in this world, it's much easier to create the problem than to solve it. But you want to start thinking about, how would I actually create a problem? What would be a good, interesting problem to create? What do I have to do to make you want to play tic-tac-toe? Drinking a lot of beer might, no, sorry, I should not be saying something like that. But if I start putting in a bunch of O's, now all of a sudden, if you're the second player, if I can last long enough, I've got some things to build on. There's a couple of other versions of tic-tac-toe that are interesting. There's 3D tic-tac-toe. Who do you think has the winning strategy? Play one, play a two, or it's possible to force a draw? Play one? What's your instinct for player one? Where would you want to go? Center, right? It seems like this should be a really good move, because you just have to get 3 in a row. How many different boards of 3x3 is that X1 in?
Are we doing diagonals here?
You could do diagonals as well, going upper left through the center down to the bottom right. It's in a lot of planes, right? There is a tremendous number of planes. Player one is just screw. I mean, it's just screwing player two, right? Any thoughts about what would be a good place for player two to go to? Diagonal corner in the same level? So now if I'm going like this, my first thought is if I now go over here for X2, for X3, that's going to force you to have to go down here to stop me, right? And then I can just go over here and force the win. There are so many different planes that going in the center puts you in that this game looks like it's tremendously unfair. Right. I'm not going to go into too many of the other possibilities. There is Russian doll tic-tac-toe. Any of you heard of this? Or gobble tic-tac-toe?
I know the version where you have like a board where like a giant board where there are little games.
No, that's the next. That's ultimate. That's ultimate tic-tac-toe.
Okay.
And it's not played on a frisbee court, sadly. It'd be great if you were playing like ultimate tic-tac-toes. You have to play tic-tac-toe while playing ultimate frisbee. So you have a small, you have a medium, and in a shocker you have a large. And each piece can gobble up a piece that's smaller. And you have, in the version I've seen, you have 2 of each. And so on your turn, you could either put down a piece or you can go, you put down a piece, but you could gobble up a piece of smaller size. So if you go in the center with a medium, I can then take over the center with a large, but I only have 2 larges. In some versions of Gobble Tic-Tac-Toe, you can actually take a piece of yours that's already on the board and ungobble and move it to another square. So if I gobble one of your pieces, I could later move it to another. I was playing this years ago in operations research against one of my students, and I can't remember if it was the student or I, but the only way not to lose was to gobble up one of your own pieces to upgrade its strength. And so this becomes now, an interesting twist. How do you play something like this? So you were mentioning ultimate tic-tac-toe. How many of you have seen ultimate tic-tac-toe? Oops. And there's a couple of ways to go. Basically, you have to get 3 in a row, and you win one of the squares once you have 3 in a row in one of the squares. And if I go in a square, so here, I need an opening move from someone. The middle of the middle. I mean, when in doubt, take the middle of the middle. So you went in the middle square. I now have to go in the middle board. Let's say I choose a corner. I chose the upper right corner. That now means you have to go somewhere in here. And then whichever square you choose, that then says which board I have to go to. So we're not going to bother playing this well. Just give me something quickly. I don't care. Bottom left. Okay, so you now go over here. So now I have to go somewhere in here. I'm going to go in the middle because I want a middle. And now you get to go in the middle. Where will you go? You can go anywhere in the middle that's unoccupied. Middle.
Oh, the left side, the middle of that.
Left side middle. So over here. And so now I have to go somewhere in over here. And I really like the middles. You can go anywhere you want now in the middle. You can. And so you've now won this. So this is, whoops, I don't want to make it too extended. So that is now an X. And I have to go somewhere in here. And so I've just given you the middle square, but I've now potentially gotten two middles on two other boards. And in fact, I can even go over here if I want for my next move. And then there's lots of different variants. In some variants, you now have to go back to the middle square, even though it's already been won, it still has open spots. In other variants, you have a free move and you can go anywhere. If a square is completely full, then you can go anywhere. And what's nice is there are some versions where it's actually worth taking the hit and giving up a square so that you can gain better strategic position on a lot of other things. And again, wonderful, wonderful life lesson here that sometimes it's worth taking a little bit of a hit. Is it at all clear how to play this? No, and that's the whole point, is you want to get quickly to a point where things become interesting. The last one that I want to get to is bidding tic-tac-toe. Any of you heard of bidding tic-tac-toe? What's nice is you can play this with handicaps. Any golfers here? Does everybody at least know roughly what golf is? Okay. Golf is one of the easiest games to have people of different abilities playing with each other. You can just say, okay, look, I'm going to give you a 6 handicap. So if you beat me by 8, you win. But if you only beat me by 3, we're going to say I win. I'm going to give you a +6. We're going to give each person $1,000. The amount of money you have at the end of the game does not matter. All that matters is, do you get 3 in a row? Okay. And whoever gets 3 in a row first wins, and you have to bid on the moves. There are a couple of different ways of playing. I'm going to play the way I like so that it's completely symmetric. In the non-symmetric way, what's the one danger when we're playing bidding tic-tac-toe to bid for who gets to move? What's the danger? Sorry? Nope, then you get to move.
Can you run out of them?
You can, in which case you don't get to move. But what's the danger in which we might not know what to do? You bid the same amount. In the game, in Ultimate Tic-Tac-Toe, well, what happens if the board is already filled? Then we have to figure out what to do then. What if the board is not filled, but it's already been claimed by one of the sides? We have to figure out what to do. So what do you want to do if we both bid the same amount? So one is random, but I don't like randomness, right? This is the big difference between a game like chess and a game like backgammon. I am friends with a backgammon grandmaster, and they actually look and see how well do you do relative to your various probabilistic determinations, because you don't know what the die roll are going to be, but you have some ways to estimate. We want complete skill, yes. So one is rebid. That's the version I like. If you both bid the same, you rebid. What is a possibility if you allow rebids? What could happen?
Same again.
Yes, and in fact, it could reach the point where it's a draw. My son has never beaten me in chess. I have never lost to him in chess. For him, he will consider it a victory if he doesn't lose to me. I will consider it a victory if I don't lose to him. There's actually an incentive for both of us to play for a draw. And so over here, one possibility is we could actually be in a situation where if we lose the bid, then we could lose the game. And so we might have an incentive to keep bidding the same amount. The other possibility is you have what's called a tie-breaking chip. And player one starts with the tie-breaking chip. And if you both bid the same, player one has the choice, do you want to use your chip, in which case you win the bid, but then you have to give the chip to player two. I don't like this because the game is now asymmetric. There's now a difference between player one, player two. I like if it's a tie, you just rebid. I admit that this means that the game could go on forever. There's one other twist. When you bid, whoever bids the most wins. What happens to that money? Yeah, so that's the version a lot of people like to play, is it goes to the other person. So you could say, if you win, the money goes to the bank and is now out of circulation, or it goes to the other person so that if you win the move, your resources go down and the others go up. So let's just play quickly. We're not going to play seriously. Do you trust me to be honest in terms of what I'm going to bid? All right, I have my bid for my opening move. How much do you guys want to bid for your opening move? So we're playing that if it's a tie, we rebid, and if you don't win, you get the money from the winner. So how much would you like to bid for the opening move? And we both start with 1,000.
We should be in proportion to how much power the first move gives us to.
If we do.
Okay, I heard 800, so you bid 800. We have to go quickly, so you bid 800.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. And I had bid 400. So you win the opening move. Where would you like to go? The middle. Now let's look at the situation. How much money do you have left? You have 200 left. I have 1,800. What am I trying to do? Yes.
You can now max this out every time.
I can max you out every time. So can I get 3 moves in a row?
Oh, I thought, sorry.
It's okay. No. I'm glad you said this. It illustrates things very well. I can get 3 moves in a row. Just to make the math easier, let's say I win on a tie. So I bid 200 and you would go up to 400. I then bid 400 and you go up to 800, and I can outbid you for 3 moves in a row. And so you bid too much for the first move. And so it's actually a nice algebra exercise. I think it might be 750 is, if you spend 750 on your first 2 moves, I think I can get the next 3 moves. And so this game has been completely analyzed by one of my friends. He's either a mathematician or computer scientist, depending on who's looking at him. The mathematicians say he's a computer scientist because he's not rigorous enough. The computer scientists say he's a mathematician because he's too rigorous. He's one of those people who is just sadly on the boundary of 2 different regions. But it's a really interesting problem. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no. He might not have been, no, I'm sorry. It was one of his friends who did this, not him. Never mind. It was one of his friends who did this. I think 750 is the threshold if the tie goes to you. Because I don't want to deal with like the 0.1 cent, something like that. So around 750 is enough so that I can get 3 moves in a row. So what would the strategy be for something like this? And again, what I hope you're seeing is we can take something simple like tic-tac-toe, and there's lots of ways to make this interesting. And there's lots of new games you can come up with. You can play tic-tac-toe on a sphere, on the surface of a sphere. You can play tic-tac-toe on a torus like Pac-Man. There's lots of things you can do to try to make the game interesting. What I love about this is you could actually handicap. I've played this game before, you haven't. I could have been nice. I could have given you guys maybe $1,400. Right? And so if you're playing with a young kid, should you be able to hold your own against a young kid in regular tic-tac-toe? Yeah. Do little kids have complete understandings of sizes of numbers now? I remember I was volunteering years ago and they wanted fifth graders to learn how to program. And they were doing things in a graphical language and they just had no understanding of the size of the screen and just how much to move. But you could give the kids more money. Now, if they really overbid on something, now all of a sudden you have a lot of money in their debt. But if they make a reasonable bid, then all of a sudden the game can become interesting. And as you play a few times and people start to sniff out strategy. Okay. All right. So the last game I want to do today is the rectangle game. So consider an M and N board. Each turn, you draw from a horizontal or vertical line that goes all the way possible before it hits another drawn line. Okay. And the last one to break a piece wins. So it's much easier to figure this out if we just like play a game. So player one could draw something like this going all the way across. For player two, I start somewhere and I have to go until I hit a line. So I could do this as a valid legal move. Maybe then player one would do this as a valid legal move. I can start from something and go to a boundary. Could player two do that as a legal move? No, it has to go all the way to an edge. Player one could do this as a legal move because it's going from either an edge of the original region to a colored line. And then player two could do this. Player one could do this. Maybe player two does this. Player one does this. I'm sorry. Player one, player two, player one, player two, player one, player two, player one, player two, player one. And now at this point, player two, one, two, one, having some fun, two, one, two. So who wins? Red. So player two wins. Okay. Do you think you can beat me? Okay. What do you want to play for? You can choose the stakes. How much? Yeah. How much do you want to risk? Okay, so you choose to risk 0. Okay. How much do you want me to risk? Wow. You can choose what I'm wagering.
Oh, I mean,
You can risk 0. What do you want me to risk?
Dude, what are we playing? This first or second?
I'll even let you choose.
Probably better to play second because we know that second at least can win.
Okay. Okay. And how much am I risking? Do you think it matters?
probably not.
Probably not. I'm giving you an open-ended bet.
You're allowing us to pick the player.
I am allowing you to pick the player. I'm really confident. All right, so I'm going to go first. I'm going to go and take the middle. What would you like to do? you have 6 possible moves. Up to symmetry, you only have 2 moves.
Let's click on the left-hand side.
Okay, you going vertically down?
Yeah.
Okay. And I will, and I'll match you over
We
here.
only have 10 moves, right?
And so I'm going to win.
Yeah.
So now if you look at this way, we're now in the place, you have,
First. I mean, out of the 10 moves, you went first.
so what's nice now is all the moves are simple 1-line segments at this point. So let's say you go here, I go here, and I'll mirror you. You go here, whoops. You go here, I'll go here and mirror you. You go here, I'll go here and mirror you. You go here, I'll go here and mirror you. Want to play again?
Yeah.
All right, do you want to go first or second?
This time we want to try going first. Or you get to
You
decide.
get to decide
The side of the
Yeah.
board.
Ah! Is this the same board we played on a moment ago?
No.
No, it's a very different board. So imagine we had a large amount of time to fill. And so we played a huge number of games and we recorded the results of all the games. Okay, and I normally go to elementary school classes and I do this with the kids. It is extremely easy for the kids to misplay. So a lot of times they will say things that I know can't happen. So like, I want to see this game. So I'm going to report on you the results. So here's a bunch of different boards. And for each board, I played 1 million games. And I recorded who the winner was. So every game that was 2x2, player 1-1. Every game that was 2x3, player 1-1. Every board that was 3x3, player 2-1, 2x4, player 1, 3x4, player 1, 4x4, player 1, 3x5, player 2. Do you see a pattern? And just to make you feel bad, the 4th graders did see it.
If the dimensions like m times n is odd, then it seems that 2 things.
So what's the keyword we would use?
Um,
There's a nice word for something like this. Parity. It all comes down to parity. So if length times width is even, it's player 1. If length times width is odd, it's player 2. And what's nice is it doesn't matter what strategy I take. I can't lose or I can't win depending on which side I have. When I say things like symmetry, what's the whole point of saying a word like symmetry? Why do you think I would say, I'm going to start off by going right, oops, sorry, not that one, by going down the middle and then symmetrically mirroring you? Why do you think I'm saying that? Nope,
Doesn't matter.
doesn't matter. So why am I saying it? Why would I say I'm choosing a symmetric strategy?
To make it seem that there is a strategy.
To make it seem like there is a strategy, right? To make it seem like there is some way to win, that I have to play cleverly if I'm going to win or something like that you might be able to steal something. Always watch for people misleading. Watch for how they're presenting information. 2 of my friends left Yale for a year to help the amazing James Randi set up his institute to debunk psychics. Just phenomenal experience. And so Randi was sued numerous times by people who claimed to have psychic powers. So he had to start saying things carefully, such as if he's bending spoons with his mind, he's doing it the hard way. And he'll hold the spoon and the spoon will bend and Randi will say how I did it. I'm not saying that that's how he did it, but I'm not using my mind. And just master at misdirection to get you to look at the wrong thing. And when we have an equipment malfunction in a few minutes, I might mention a few of the things he did. So we have this parity. So one of my favorite concepts in mathematics, it's called a monovariant. We mentioned this briefly, I think, right? Or no? Okay, a monovariant is a quantity that can only move in one direction. It's either the same and goes up or the same and goes down. Give me something related to yourself that's a monovariant. Age, right? Give me something related to yourself that's not a monovariant. height, unfortunately. Height goes up, and as you get older, there is a way to make height a monovariant. If we kill you, no, sorry. But if you make it to old age, height will not be a monovariant. What is the more natural thing that's not a monovariant about you? Weight, right? Weight will clearly go up and down during the day, hair length up and down during the day. So the idea is we want to associate a monovariant to the rectangle game. And every time we move, we increase the number of pieces by 1. So let's say over here, we're going to keep track of the move number and number of pieces. At move 0, how many pieces do we have? 1. Now we make the first move. Doesn't matter where the first move is. Let's say we do this. How many pieces do we have now? This is now 2 pieces. You could view this if you want like this. Now, where do you want to move? Doesn't matter, but just choose something. Yes.
Vertical middle is the left.
Vertical middle left. And so now it will look like this. And so after move 2, we'll have 3 pieces. And then you can see every time you move, you're going to increase the number of pieces by 1. And so now it would be like this. And so after 3 moves, there would be 4 pieces. After 4 moves, there would be 5 pieces. After 5 moves, there would be 6 pieces. And we can't move any further. So if it's length by width, we have L times W minus 1 moves till done. So it doesn't matter what strategy you play. The game will always terminate in L times W minus 1 moves. Now, when you're playing with little kids, you can have a lot of fun. You could go, oh no, I forgot to move symmetrically or something like that. But what's great about this is it's just a really nice math concept, this monovariant. And there's a lot of problems we can solve with this. We're not going to have time to do the zombie apocalypse today. We'll do that for another time. But what if I gave you a game board like this? What do you think it's still going to be? I'm sorry? Why player 1?
We have been even.
So there's an even number of squares. This is 15 up to here. That's 1 is 16. And then that's an even number down this. We have an even number of squares. So we have an odd number of moves. After the first move, you end up with player 1. You end up with player 2. So after an odd number of moves, you end up player 2. So with an even number of moves, you end up with player number 1. So every move just adds another square. Does it matter the shape? Shape doesn't matter. So if I give you a strange board like this, it's not going to matter. What if I give you a board like this?
So we're gonna do it along the border.
Yeah, so the question is, we're not allowed to do a move like this in the beginning. So as long as like that, it's really just like 2 different boards. So this is a good place to stop. Got you.